Alright, and welcome back to the forecast card. I've already made an earlier upload on the first four games. In terms of today, there's neither of those games I like. I'm not a fan of the St. Francis or the San Diego State game, so I'm not betting them. But there are five games in the NIT that I like enough to bet. I don't really love any of these games except for the last one, but I am still going to, I guess, share my opinions on why I like these five sides. I have bet all of them. I'm basically going to bet a ton more college basketball. Even if it doesn't make me money, it's going to end soon, and I'm just trying to enjoy as much of it as I can. To recap, yeah, yesterday Cornell Yale got a little bit sweaty at half, but because Cornell was 3 for 15 from three, but then I locked back in, started hitting some threes. Same with Yale, so that total ended up not being very sweaty. Florida, they're my favorite team to win everything. If you check the video I uploaded earlier today, you'll see my three favorite futures. Florida is, of course, one of them. GMU versus VCU under, 100% the right side. Both teams shoot over 40% from three, basically. Both teams shoot above 80% from the free throw line, despite neither of them averaging that great from the free throw line. Total ends at 131, basically off of 2-point foul at the very end of the game. So basically, I finished at 129. Just bad luck, genuinely. UAB versus Memphis, man, UAB just didn't do shit in the second half. Up three at half, end up losing this game by double digits. Classic dogs. I guess it's how the dogs have been playing, honestly, in all of this tournament. So maybe first half on dogs is always going to be the strat. And the lock does not come through with Wisconsin. Still believe today that it was the right side. But Tanji just had his worst game of his entire college career. Shot 1 for 14. Could not make a single three-point shot. Could not make many field goals. Shot 7.1% from the field. He got some free throws, but just terrible performance from the guy that was supposed to lead them. I feel like every other player on the team kind of felt that Tanji wasn't doing shit, so they kind of gave up. And Michigan only scores 59 points. You really expect a Wisconsin team to cover a team that hits 70 points almost every game, but it just didn't fall. They shoot way better against the best three-point defense in Michigan State, and they shoot like shit against Michigan, who's not even that great at three-point defense. So just the variability of college basketball. Still think it was the right side, but of course it doesn't cash, so it is what it is. All right, let's get into the five sides that I kind of like for the games tomorrow. I don't love any of these sides except for maybe one of them, but I have told myself I'm going to try to bet 5 games at least every single day until the end of college basketball, because once it's gone, it's gone. And yeah, so take these with a grain of salt. There's only a very tiny slate of 9 games, so the value is very limited. But these are just kind of my model / personal opinions on what I expect to happen in each of these games. All right, bringing us to game number 1. Now, on paper, the under model-wise, I do like. I have this modeled at around 137. We're getting around 142 on a couple books, 141.5 on a few other books. On paper, both these teams kind of lead with their defense. GT a top 75 defense, top 150 offense. Jacksonville State top 140 offense, top 115 defense. Both teams are kind of elite where the other team likes to score. If you look at this GT team, they typically like to take some mid-range shots, which Jacksonville State is top 40 in defense against. They take some near basket shots. They'll find some success, but they're not really that great of a near basket shooter anyway. They're not even top 100. And Jacksonville State, they don't give up any offensive boards. They don't really give up too many turnovers. So I think GT is going to struggle to find some success. Also, they're a very bad free throw shooting team. So I do like that, because I do think they're going to be the team leading at the end of the stretch. They're going to be shooting the free throws in the back and forth. Jacksonville State, also not that great of an offensive team. Not ranked top 100 in any offensive stat except for free throw percentage, but GT doesn't really foul much, ranked top 37 in free throws allowed. They also have played a much harder schedule, so I don't expect Jacksonville State to get to the line too much from Conference USA. Jacksonville State, they take a lot of basically every shot, 30% almost on every single shot. They may find a little bit of success from 3, but again, this is going to be on the road. 3 kind of, typically don't hit nearly as well. But GT otherwise is an elite defensive team, top 25 against the mid-range, top 50 near basket. They don't turn the ball over nearly as much. They do turn the ball over a decent amount, but Jacksonville State does not force turnovers. They're ranked 349th in potential points off steals. And GT also does not give up any secondary opportunities. So these are two bad offenses that are not going to get many secondary opportunities, aren't going to get free points from steals, aren't going to get free points from free throws. Jacksonville State, 301st in pace. GT does play at a bit faster of a pace, but again, I think they're going to struggle to find success scoring. And the main stat that kind of jumps out to me is these teams both are going to be playing for a significant amount of time. Let me look exactly. Jacksonville State won't play since the 15th, so they're going to have basically 4 days off. And Georgia Tech hasn't played since the 13th, so they're going to have 5 days off. When you look at their situational trends on the totals, with 4+ days off, Jacksonville State 2-11 on the to the over, so 2-11 to the under, or 11-2 to the under, and GT with 4 days off 0-6 to the over, or 6-0 to the under. So I really love this under spot. I think these teams play at a much slower pace when they get a lot of rest, especially in the first half. You could take the first half under as well. But both these teams, at least GT plays really hard in the first. Jacksonville State plays really slow in the first. So maybe Jacksonville State team total under first half is a good bet, at least analytically, but I'm just going to take the full total. I don't really want to minimize my variance onto just one team overperforming from 3 or something. So overall, I really like the under 142.5 in the Jacksonville versus Georgia Tech game. All right, that brings us to game number 2, which is St. Louis versus Arkansas State. I do believe sharps are going to be on Arkansas State just because of how well Arkansas plays at home. So you could maybe weigh in on this number, maybe get like a +5.5 or something. But I've already bet this. Just because when I look at it on paper, I don't fully understand why this line is what it is. Obviously, St. Louis turns the ball over a lot more. They're worse on the boards, but offensively and defensively, St. Louis has played a much harder schedule, 91st in college basketball to Arkansas State's 211th. Arkansas State, obviously a great team at home. St. Louis not necessarily that great of a road team, but I think St. Louis, they're basically a top 100 offense. Both of these teams are very equally balanced on both sides of the ball. I'm getting +5 with a team that I think played in a harder division in the Atlantic 10 compared to the Sun Belt. I'm going to lay the +5.5, or going to take the points here. I think St. Louis is going to find a lot of success in the paint. They're going to hit some threes. They're going to have some success in the mid-range. Arkansas State, they shoot a lot in the paint. St. Louis top 50 paint defense. They're going to shoot a lot of threes. They're really bad from 3, ranked 272 in three-point percentage. St. Louis is going to defend it well. St. Louis does not foul much. They're top 15 in free throws allowed. Obviously, Arkansas State's going to find a little bit of success in points off steals and secondary opportunities, but St. Louis really is not that bad on those two sides, and the fact that they played such a harder schedule means all of these stats are kind of inflated to support Arkansas State. So, again, I do believe that Arkansas State is a very good home team. There's a good chance they're going to want to show up for this game, but I do think the line is a little bit too heavy. Arkansas State's actually a team that plays better on the road. They are a really good home performing team as well. But in terms of predictive ranking, I think Arkansas State's only a slightly better team here. St. Louis kind of peaked at the end of the year. They're going to be a little bit let down with their performance, where they kind of lost to Loyola Chicago in a bit of an embarrassing way. Arkansas State kind of got blown up by Troy. Yeah, I'm going to lay the points, or take the points here with St. Louis +5. I don't love this side because Arkansas State is a team that has the ability to just get lights out from at home, especially in this kind of make-up tournament to kind of salvage what they have left of this kind of mediocre year. But I think Arkansas State's going to come out cold. They're going to have almost a week of no playing. St. Louis played much more recently. And yeah, that's with the rest advantage. There's not a significant edge because it's been 4 days. Typically, rest advantages are on back-to-backs or 2 days off. I think both teams are going to be up for this game. I think it's going to be a neck-and-neck, one-possession game. Give me St. Louis +5. All right, heading on to game at number 3, we have Wichita State versus Oklahoma State. I can understand why people would want to take Wichita State here, and maybe even lead on the over. But Oklahoma State is the way better team. Just straight up, they've played a much harder schedule, almost 100 rankings higher in schedule strength. Record quality, they're pretty much even, but Oklahoma State has definitely been the better team to end off the year. Wichita State's a weird team. I really don't really know what to expect from them, but I don't think they match up too well against this Oklahoma State team. Um, and yes, Wichita State's going to dominate the boards, but I think Oklahoma State's going to find success on their own boards as well. And they're also going to force a ton more turnovers, which is something that Oklahoma State does really well. So, um, again, Wichita State's kind of a one-dimensional team. If you look at where they like to score, they shoot some mid-range and near basket shots. They're not great from three, and it's really hard to win games when you don't shoot a lot of three balls. Oklahoma State, top 100 three-point offense. I think that's going to be the difference this game, is that Oklahoma State's just going to block up the paint. And if Wichita State can't get offensive boards or mark their free throws, I think Oklahoma State can run away with this game. If you dig into it a little bit more, both teams do for a decent chunk of negative regression, so there's no really, I guess, side when you look at it that way. But yeah, this is going to be a true home game for Oklahoma State. Wichita State traveling, a decent amount of, over 100 miles to play this game. Oklahoma State's won 3 of the last 4 at home. And these are some pretty good wins over like Cincinnati, Iowa State, UCF, teams that I consider way better than Wichita State is. They just came off a pretty sad loss to Cincinnati in the first round. Wichita State, kind of a letdown spot for them, but they also are going to have a lot less rest here than Oklahoma State, and they're going to be the ones traveling. I just, when I look at this, I think Oklahoma State, they're a team that performs much better at home. They have the top 30 home advantage in college basketball. Wichita State, on theory, has played better on the road, but if you look at their last 5 rating, Oklahoma State finished the year off really well. Wichita State, kind of mid. They beat South Florida, but that's a team they probably should have beaten. They got kind of embarrassed by Memphis, kind of imploding at the end of the game. They've losses to Tulsa, twice. Oklahoma State, has played way better competition. They've had to play TCU, Texas Tech, UCF. They won. They played Kansas, Iowa State, Baylor, UCF, Cincy, Utah, Kansas State, Texas Tech, Arizona, Colorado, BYU, Utah, Kansas State, West Virginia, Houston. These are all elite teams that they've had to play. Wichita State has really only hard comp teams they had to play are Memphis and North Texas, and they're 1-3 in those games. So I think this is going to be a big step up for them. They're going to be on the road. I think this is a team where Oklahoma State is going to have a huge home crowd, and I think they pull away from this game early. So I'm going to take Oklahoma State 1/2 -3. They're a solid 1/2 team. They do come out hot early, especially in terms of forcing turnovers when Wichita State's going to be really cold. I like Oklahoma State here early, but I do think Wichita State can come back and keep this game close in the end. All right, that brings us to game number 2, which is Stanford versus CSUN. So on paper, I actually quite liked the CSUN spread, but Stanford is just one of those teams that plays on another level at home. And when you look at these two teams in terms of 1/2, Stanford, it's basically a top 50 team when they play in the first half. And CSUN is a top 150 team, not even a top 150 team when playing in the first half. So they could definitely start out much slower. Stanford moves up a ton of ranks playing at home. They're a top 40 home advantage. CSUN does play about average. They play no different on the road, but Stanford has played a much harder schedule. They've been the better team to end off the year by a significant margin. They're coming off an extremely tough loss against Louisville. That was basically a one-possession game. CSUN, they played one game, and they lost in their tournament, a much easier tournament than Stanford's. So kind of an embarrassing game for them against Santa Barbara when they were probably the favorites to win that game. Again, if you look at the stats here for Stanford, they basically almost never lose games at home. Let's go back to January 8th. They won 2 home games, went on the road, lost 1, won 1, went home, won 2, won 3 in a row, went on the road, lost 1, went home, won 1 of 1, went on the road, lost 2, went home, won 3 in a row, went on the road, lost 2. Then they went on the neutral court, lost. I think they're a way better home team. CSUN has some, not too many road losses. They've been a pretty solid team. But I think the fact that they do typically start out extremely slowly, both teams are pretty healthy. I think Stanford has like one injury, but he's not really an important player, so I'm not necessarily too concerned about that. In terms of like stats, Stanford has played a way harder schedule, top 75 versus CSUN's 194th. I think their stats reflect a much more talented team, better record quality, much better home court, and they're going to slow this game down against a CSUN team that likes to kind of pick up the pace. Stanford, they're an elite three-point shooting team. CSUN cannot defend the three. They're ranked basically top 300 in three-point defense. They give up a 36% against an average team. Stanford, a top 90 three-point team, and that's against much harder competition. Against Stanford, is an elite free throw shooting team, top 6 in college basketball. CSUN fouls a lot, ranked 340th in free throws allowed. I think that's going to be a problem. That may be more beneficial down the line, like at the very end of the game. But typically, this does, if Stanford does start making shots at the paint, I think that's going to be a problem. Furthermore, CSUN, they're a team that relies heavily on forcing turnovers to get points. They're a top 80 team. They might find some success, but again, Stanford top 5 in limiting points off steals. Top 100 in limiting offensive board opportunities. They don't foul nearly as much, and CSUN's not nearly as good of a free throw shooting team. CSUN, pretty solid team at shooting, but they shoot a lot of shots in the paint, almost 50% in the paint, and they were that's like the worst shot. I don't necessarily know why they do it, but Stanford's also in terms of what they defend, they're one of the best near basket defenses. So yeah, I think Stanford runs away with this game early. I think they're going to be pretty pissed off about their last loss they've been sitting on. They're going to have a bit of a rest advantage and getting to play at home. They're due for only a little bit of negative regression in this game. Cal State Northridge due for a decent chunk of more of regression. I don't want to take the full game. I think the spread's a little bit too big for a net game. But I do think Stanford can cover this 3.5 first half spread. So give me Stanford first half minus 3.5. All right, and to end us off, we have Santa Clara versus UC Riverside. Now, these two teams have already played once this year, and I typically do believe that you should look at those with a grain of salt. But I don't know, man. Like, Santa Clara absolutely wiped the floor with UC Riverside when these two teams played. Obviously, this was really early on. Before any team has really had time to figure out what they're doing. But Santa Clara, crushed them by 42 points. It wasn't even close, and they were playing at home in that game, which they are playing at home at this game. Santa Clara is the way better team here. Top 75. UC Riverside, barely a top 150 team. Not even that. They're probably like a top 175 team. They played a much easier schedule. If you look at their last 5 ratings, they've fallen outside of the top 200. Santa Clara has kind of entered into the top 50 range. To finish off the year, they're elite against these pretty bad teams. UC Riverside kind of struggles against these middle-of-the-pack teams like Santa Clara. This will be a true road spot here for this UC Riverside team. 340 miles away from home. Santa Clara is going to get to be home for this game after playing a really embarrassing tournament game. I actually had a future on them to win it all. Obviously, that was an extremely long shot, but Pepperdine just kind of smoked them on the neutral court, and I think they're going to be living with that. They are not going to have played for 9 days coming into this game. I think they're going to come into this game with a vengeance. They know that they just shit on UC Riverside already. I think both these teams want the season to be over, but UC Riverside, I think they're going to get absolutely crushed here. I think the ACC is... Sorry, not the ACC. The West Coast League is just significantly more tougher of a schedule than the Big West. They played a much better schedule. Santa Clara, they're a team that likes to shoot a lot of threes. UC Riverside does not defend the three well. Again, UC Riverside, as a pretty decent defensive team, Santa Clara is not really known to be an insane offense. Kind of is all driven by how good they are from the three. They're going to shoot in the paint a little bit. UC Riverside is not really that great of a paint defense. But on the other side, UC Riverside shoots a lot of mid-range. They may find a little bit of success, but they're not going to find any success in terms of getting to the free throw line. Santa Clara doesn't give you a lot of turnovers. They don't give you any boards. I think the three ball is going to be the difference here with the home team. Give me Santa Clara to completely shit on UC Riverside. Again, UC Riverside's still a team that's due for a shit ton of negative regression. Santa Clara basically playing at where they should be, due for a tiny bit of positive regression. I think Santa Clara is going to want some revenge. They've had way more time to plan this game. Yeah, give me Santa Clara at minus 10.5. That's going to be my lock for today. I do think they truly belt to ass this game over UC Riverside. Alright, and to finish this off, I'm just going to go over the other 4 games for tomorrow, just as leans. I think St. Francis keeps this game close. I go into it in a lot more depth in my previous video on the first 4, which you should go into, but I genuinely do believe that Alabama State is the better team, but I do think St. Francis keeps it close enough to cover. San Diego State versus North Carolina. I think this line has moved a little bit too far. I think San Diego State is a scrappy team, solid defensive team. I think North Carolina wins, but I think San Diego State covers. You can check out my previous video as well for that game. I did bet the other 2 first 4 games, but I didn't really like any of these 2 in terms of sides. I do think St. Bonaventure is the better team here. They played a much harder conference. Not really much to say. I do believe that when you look at Kent, they just underperformed in their tournament. I think they're a team that everyone kind of believed to bounce back later on, but I think they thought they may have been destined for more at the beginning of the season. I think Santa Clara at home kind of drills them. Kent is a good offensive board team, but I don't think they're going to be playing with nearly enough energy to dominate them, so kind of like St. Bonnie's. In Middle Tennessee, they're just due for way too much regression, and Chattanooga is one of those road teams that you kind of never want to fade. But on paper, statistically, Middle Tennessee is the way better team, good matchup. But I do believe that Chattanooga has more talent and a better team on the road, especially when they're trying to play for something, and I guess this might be something for them. So no bet for me there. But just to recap, I like the under 142.5 in the Jacksonville State versus Georgia Tech game. I like St. Louis +5 against Arkansas State. I like Oklahoma State first half -3 against Wichita State. I like Stanford 1/2 -3.5 versus Cal State Northridge, and I do like the Santa Clara -10.5 lock against UC Riverside. I think they are a much more talented team with a lot more pissed off energy here coming into this game at home. So I think they're going to end off their season on a high note and not the pathetic loss to Pepperdine in their potential chances of making the big dance. So yeah, that's everything I'd like for tomorrow. Please give it a like, subscribe. Appreciate all your support. And once college basketball is over, I'm probably going to start digging a lot more into hockey, NBA, and then a ton more into MLB because that is a very data-driven sport, and that's kind of all I love to do. So baseball is my second best sport behind college basketball, so I'm quite excited to start digging into that, especially home runs. I really do like to bet home runs, so I'm going to have videos on my 3 favorite home runs every single day once baseball starts. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.